You sat down on your grandmother's couch in July, and your thighs stuck to the plastic like tape, that peeling sound when you stood up. You hated it. That living room set from 1974 still looked brand new in 2005, and every grandchild knows exactly why. But walk into a white grandmother's house, and she had the exact same energy with a completely different method. 25 old school rules. Two grandmothers, two totally different worlds. Same destination every time. And number 25 has nothing to do with furniture or food or manners, and everything to do with something much deeper. Number 1, the plastic on the furniture. If you grew up in a black grandmother's house, that couch was wrapped. The dining room chairs were wrapped. The lampshades were probably wrapped. Nobody was putting their sweaty body on Grandma's good sofa without a protective barrier between their skin and that fabric. White grandmothers had a different version of the same energy. They had the formal living room that nobody was allowed to enter, beautiful furniture, decorative pillows arranged just so, and a very clear understanding that this room was for looking at, not for living in. Thanksgiving? Sit in the den. Christmas? You're in the basement. That living room was a museum, and Grandma was the curator. Different methods, same result. Furniture that outlived everyone who was banned from sitting on it. Number 2, Saturday morning was cleaning morning. In a black grandmother's house, Saturday started with music and pine saw. The Isley Brothers or Anita Baker coming through the speakers, and every grandchild had an assignment. Somebody was mopping. Somebody was dusting. Somebody was outside beating the rugs. You did not sit down until Grandma inspected your work, and if she found a spot you missed, you were doing the whole thing over. White grandmothers had the same drill with a different soundtrack. Maybe it was the oldies station or the local country channel, and the smell was lemon pledge instead of pine sol. Chores before anything fun happened. No cartoons until the baseboards were clean. And Grandma checked behind you with a white glove, or at least it felt that way. Number 3, the screen door had one rule: do not slam it. That was it. One rule. Universal. Non-negotiable. Every grandmother on earth could hear that screen door slam from 3 rooms away over a running faucet and a television. The child responsible was immediately identified, and the correction was immediate. Number 4, lights off in every empty room. Both grandmothers walked through the house turning off lights like it was a full-time job. Black grandmothers said, "You think I'm made of money?" White grandmothers said, "We're not heating the whole neighborhood." The wording changed by region, but the passion was identical. Grandmothers everywhere treated the electric bill like it was their mortal enemy. Number 5, don't touch the thermostat. The thermostat in a grandmother's house was not a public utility. Black grandmothers set it to one temperature and dared anyone to change it. Cold, put on a sweater. Hot, go sit on the porch. White grandmothers had the exact same policy, sometimes enforced with a plastic lockbox over the thermostat itself. Temperature control was not a democracy in any grandmother's house regardless of race. Now those first 5 were all about the house itself. But the kitchen, that's where the real differences showed up. Number 6, the bacon grease jar. Black grandmothers kept a jar of bacon grease next to the stove the way other people keep salt and pepper. That jar never left the counter. It was seasoning, cooking oil, and the secret behind every dish that made you close your eyes while you chewed. Green beans, cornbread, fried chicken, collard greens. That grease held the whole menu together. And if you ever threw it away by accident, you might as well have packed your bags. White grandmothers had the butter dish. That butter sat on the counter at room temperature, soft and ready to go on anything. Biscuits, corn on the cob, toast, mashed potatoes. Some of them saved bacon grease too, especially the southern ones. But the butter dish was the universal constant, and throwing away butter in a white grandmother's kitchen got you the same look that throwing away bacon grease got you in a black grandmother's kitchen. Number 7, you ate what was in front of you. Black grandmothers did not run a restaurant. There were no substitutions. Whatever she cooked, that's what you ate, and you cleaned your plate. Liver and onions, neck bones, whatever it was. There are children who don't have food, was the closing argument, and it won every time. White grandmothers had the casserole version of this rule. That tuna casserole was dinner. The meatloaf was dinner. You sat there until your plate was clean. And if you didn't finish it tonight, guess what was waiting for you at breakfast tomorrow? Both grandmothers operated under the same principle. Food is fuel, and you will be grateful for it. Number 8. Aluminum foil was not disposable. This one didn't split by race at all. Both grandmothers washed aluminum foil. That foil got rinsed, dried, folded, and put back in the drawer like it just came off the roll. Black grandmothers reused it until it was so thin you could see through it. White grandmothers kept a neat stack of used but still good foil next to the new roll. Throwing away foil that still had life in it was a personal offense in both households. This was never about being cheap. This was about being raised by people who survived hard times and refused to waste anything. But this next one is the one that will have you calling your cousins tonight. Number 9. The margarine container full of something that was definitely not margarine. You opened the fridge, you saw the country crock tub, and you thought you were about to spread some butter on a roll. Wrong. That container had leftover greens in it, or spaghetti, or beans from 3 days ago. Black grandmothers repurposed every container in the kitchen. Cool Whip tubs held potato salad. Butter containers held Sunday gravy. Nothing got thrown away if it could hold leftovers. White grandmothers did the exact same thing, and the betrayal was just as real. You'd grab a container from the freezer expecting ice cream and get frozen soup. Grandmothers across the board were running the original recycling program decades before it was trendy. Number 10. Leftovers were a whole system. A black grandmother's refrigerator was organized like a military supply depot. Sunday dinner leftovers had a shelf. Weeknight leftovers had a different shelf. And she knew exactly how old everything was without checking a date. If you ate something she was saving for tomorrow's lunch, you had a problem. White grandmothers ran leftover night like a scheduled event. Tuesday night, you opened the fridge and made yourself a plate from whatever was in there. Some of them even labeled containers with masking tape and a marker. Organization styles were different, but the refusal to let food go to waste was the same across the board. Now, everything up to this point has been about the house and the kitchen. These next 5 are about behavior, and this is where the real discipline started. Number 11. Fix your face. This was a black grandmother original. You could say yes, ma'am, with the right words, but the wrong expression, and grandma would catch it instantly. Fix your face meant your attitude was showing through your eyes, your lips, or that little twist in your jaw. She didn't care what you were feeling on the inside. Your face needed to show respect, and you had about 3 seconds to adjust before the conversation went in a direction you did not want. White grandmothers had a version of this too, just phrased differently. Wipe that look off your face, or don't roll your eyes at me, carried the same message. The tone was different, but the universal grandmother ability to read a child's facial expression from across the room was identical. Number 12. Yes, ma'am, and no, sir, were not optional. In a black grandmother's house, you answered adults with yes, ma'am, and no, sir, every single time. There was no casual yeah or nope. That was considered disrespectful, and disrespect in Grandma's house had immediate consequences. This applied to Grandma, to her friends, to the mailman, to literally every adult you encountered while under her roof. White grandmothers, particularly in the South, held the same standard. Yes, ma'am, was muscle memory by age 4. Northern white grandmothers leaned more toward yes, please, and no, thank you with the same intensity. Different phrases, same non-negotiable expectation. Number 13. Answering the phone. A black grandmother's phone had rules. You answered with your full name and the household you were representing. Johnson residence. This is Marcus speaking. None of this hello, and then dead silence. And if Grandma was on the other line and you picked up the extension, you put that phone down gently, or she would come find you. White grandmothers had the same formality, just a different flavor. Hello, Smith residents. Some of them had a separate phone voice entirely. That voice went up an octave. The words got crisper. And if a kid answered the phone and said, yeah, instead of hello, that child was getting a talk about representing the family properly. Number 14, guest rules. In a black grandmother's house, you spoke to every adult when you walked through the door. Hey was not a greeting. You said hello to each person individually, by name if you knew it. You did not sit down before being invited to, and you did not open that refrigerator. That refrigerator belonged to the person paying the light bill that powered it, and that person was not you. White grandmothers had the shoes off at the door version of guest protocol. You wiped your feet, you said hello, and you did not touch anything breakable. Some households had a no food outside the kitchen policy. Different boundaries, same underlying message. You are a guest. Act accordingly. And if those behavior rules felt strict, wait until you hear what happened when you misbehaved. Number 15. The wooden spoon versus the switch. White grandmothers reached for the wooden spoon in the kitchen drawer. It was right there, within arm's reach, and every grandchild knew which drawer it lived in. Some of them had a specific spoon that wasn't even used for cooking anymore. It had been promoted to a different department entirely. Black grandmothers sent you outside to pick your own switch off the tree, and you better not come back with a little twig, because she'd go out there and pick a real one, and it would be worse. The psychological component of choosing your own consequence was a level of discipline engineering that experts are probably still studying. Now, if you grew up in one of these households and you're sitting here nodding at every single rule on this list, that's not an accident. Your grandmother wasn't just keeping a clean house or enforcing manners, she was running a financial system. That foil she washed and reused, the container she never threw away, the grease jar that stretched a dollar further than any financial advisor ever could. She was building a mindset around money that financial consultants charge thousands of dollars to teach. If you want to take that same old school wisdom and apply it to building real wealth today, I put together something called the Black Dollar Playbook. It's a free ebook, and the link is in the description. It takes the exact money principles your grandmother practiced every day and shows you how to use them to build something that lasts. Grab it, and let's keep going, because we are not done. Number 16, church clothes stayed church clothes. You walked through the front door after Sunday service, and the first thing a black grandmother said was, "Go change your clothes." Those church shoes came off at the door. That suit or dress went right back on the hanger. You were not playing outside, sitting on the porch, or doing anything in your Sunday best. Those clothes had one purpose, and recreational activities were not it. White grandmothers, especially the church-going ones, ran the same operation. The Easter outfit, the Christmas dress, the Sunday shoes. Those items lived in the closet in garment bags, and you wore them for exactly the hours required, not a minute more. Childhood in both households meant owning clothes you could look at but barely wear. Number 17. Wrapping paper was reusable. Black grandmothers opened Christmas presents with surgical precision so the paper could be folded and reused next year. Ripping paper was wasteful. The bows came off first, got stored in a bag, and reappeared 12 months later on somebody else's gift. Gift bags were permanent inventory, not single-use items. White grandmothers ironed wrapping paper, literally took an iron to it, pressed out the creases, and stored it flat for next year. Tissue paper got folded and placed in a drawer. Gift bags circulated through the family for years. Your aunt gave Grandma a bag in 1998, and Grandma gave it back to her in 2003 with a different gift inside. Number 18. The junk drawer. This one needs no comparison because it was identical in every household. Both grandmothers had a junk drawer in the kitchen, and both of them could find anything in it within 10 seconds. Batteries, rubber bands, birthday candles, a screwdriver, takeout menus from 1993, and at least one pen that didn't work. The drawer looked like chaos to everyone else, but Grandma had a mental filing system that put the Library of Congress to shame. Number 19. The company is coming, deep clean. Black grandmothers cleaned the house that was already clean. When company was expected, the house that you thought was spotless got cleaned again from top to bottom. Floors that were already mopped got mopped again. A towel set appeared in the bathroom that nobody in the family was allowed to touch. White grandmothers pulled out the good towels and the good china for company. The everyday dishes went to the back of the cabinet, and plates you'd never seen before appeared on the table. Both grandmothers had an entire second tier of household items reserved for guests, and both would give you that look if you accidentally used the guest soap. Number 20. Medicine for everything. Black grandmothers had a remedy for every ailment, and most of them did not come from a pharmacy. Vicks Vapor Rub covered chest colds, headaches, sore muscles, and at least 4 other conditions it was never designed for. Robitussin handled everything the Vicks didn't, and if those two failed, castor oil was the final boss. White grandmothers relied on Epsom salt baths and chicken noodle soup with the same level of conviction. Got a cold? Soup. Sore muscles? Epsom salt? Stomachache? Flat ginger ale and saltine crackers? Both grandmothers practiced medicine from their kitchens and bathrooms with absolute confidence, and honestly, half of it actually worked. Now, these last 5 are different from everything else on the list. The first 20 were about how Grandma ran her house. These last 5 are about what she was really building underneath all of it. Number 21. Money conversations happened differently. Black grandmothers talked about money in terms of survival and stretching every dollar. Save something for a rainy day was repeated weekly. They taught you to always have a stash somewhere. Money that nobody else knew about was repeated weekly. They taught you to always have a stash somewhere. Money that nobody else knew about. A grandmother keeping cash in a coffee can inside a shoebox in the back of the closet was not unusual. It was financial planning. White grandmothers talked about money in terms of savings accounts and being sensible. College funds, piggy banks, and learning to balance a checkbook were the lessons. The language was different. The specific strategies were different, but both grandmothers drilled the same core lesson into their grandchildren. You do not waste money, ever. Number 22. Shoes off at the door or shoes on at all times. This one split differently than you'd expect. Some black grandmothers wanted shoes off the second you walked in because she just mopped that floor and you were not tracking dirt through her house. Other black grandmothers wanted you to keep your shoes on because walking around barefoot was trifling. It depended entirely on the grandmother. White grandmothers generally fell into the shoes off camp, especially if the house had carpet. Shoe racks by the front door, slippers provided for guests. Every grandmother had a shoe policy, and you figured it out fast, or you heard about it. Number 23. Dinner was at a specific time, and you were expected to be there. Black grandmothers had dinner ready at 6, and your seat was your seat. You didn't eat in your room. You didn't eat on the couch. You sat at that table with the rest of the family, you said grace, and you had a conversation like a human being. Dinner was not a meal. It was a mandatory family meeting. White grandmothers ran dinner the same way, sometimes with assigned seating that never changed. Grandpa sat at the head. Grandma sat closest to the kitchen so she could get up and refill things. Elbows off the table. Napkin in your lap. And nobody left until Grandma said it was okay to leave. Number 24. The photo wall. Every grandmother's hallway told a story. Black grandmothers had school photos of every grandchild, graduation portraits, and at least one oversized family reunion picture in a gold frame. The arrangement might not have followed any design logic, but every face was represented. If you weren't on that wall, there was a conversation that needed to happen. White grandmothers had the same wall with a slightly different aesthetic. Silver frames, matching sizes, sometimes arranged in a perfect grid. Professional family portraits from Sears or J.C. Penney, school photos updated every single year. Both grandmothers treated that wall like a shrine to the family, and both of them could tell you the exact year every photo was taken. That photo wall wasn't decoration, it was evidence. Evidence that she raised every last one of you, and she wanted the whole hallway to prove it. Number 25. Call me when you get home. This was the final rule, the one that every grandmother enforced regardless of background, regardless of culture, regardless of anything. When you left her house, you called when you got home, not texted. called. She needed to hear your voice and know you made it safe. If you forgot, she was calling you, and when you answered, the first thing you heard was not hello. It was, I've been sitting here worried sick. That phone call was not about control. It was about love. Pure, stubborn, old school love that showed itself through rules and routines and little rituals that felt annoying when you were 12 years old and feel priceless now that you're grown. The plastic on the couch, the bacon grease, the fix your face, the phone call when you got home, 25 rules from two very different traditions, and every single one of them pointed in the same direction. Grandmothers were building people. Character, discipline, respect, and resilience, one house rule at a time. None of it was random. And if you're sitting here recognizing your grandmother in half of these, she did her job. If this hit home, subscribe. I put out videos like this every week, and the next one goes even deeper into the rules that built families and communities from the ground up. Click the video on screen, and I'll see you there.